Alright, what's good, my people? So what I did is I just went to church. Mass. Finally, it's open at 11:15. Every Sunday, I play soccer at 9 a.m. So by the time I finish, get a shower in, and go to church, it's already 11:15. So this is the perfect time. So today, what I do is I bring my own notepad with me and some pens, and I take notes. I try to use the graphic design that I know to make kind of pretty, easy to follow, easy to understand notes. You won't be able to understand my notes because the way I write is very unique. So you're not gonna be able to understand it. Only really I can understand 100% of what I write. So I'm just gonna go through my notes that I took all throughout and breakdown of today's lecture. So starting off with my notes. Now this is based on what the speaker, the pastor Steve, which interesting. My name is also Steve. Really, Ishvin in Hungarian is it's the same thing as Steven or Steve. And interesting, today after church they were cleaning up. I stayed a little bit late because I like to read my notes. I like to reread what was covered. And this guy Joe was kind of directing the cleanup process, and I asked him if I had to go. He said, no, you're good there, you're good. How long have you been coming to this church? And I said, for about a year now. Oh, really? Well, we missed you with the coronavirus thing. And I was like, yeah, I saw that, and no people were here for like 2 weeks. He's like, yeah, it was nice to meet you. My name is Joe. What's your name? And I tell him Ish. He says, Ish. Nice to meet you, Ish. And I'm like, yeah, it's short for Ishvin. So yeah, anyways, the first note that the Pastor Steve gave was about the in-group versus the outsider. And this is relating to the whole protests that were happening right now with George Floyd's death. It's his murder. So he's talking about the in-group and the outsider group. He says, with your in-group, we might have our own language. This is my note there. The in-group, we have our own language, our own way we talk, our own way we behave, like an inner code of conduct. That when an outsider comes in, maybe that to that outsider it can seem rude, it can seem disrespectful, and we need to do is put our minds in his shoes and put ourselves in their shoes so we can see how we need to adjust our behavior to make them more comfortable. And lashing out in pain is universal, but still it shouldn't be done. So we understand why they went out to loot, to protest, some people, and it's because it's normal, natural behavior. Everybody has lashed out because someone else has made them happy. So it's relatable. We get it. Still, it shouldn't be done. We need to work on how we diminish those things, and the solution is obviously Christ, right? So another note I have here is, when you have opportunity, do good to others who are a part of the house especially. So this is what the Bible said, to the house especially. That means be especially good to those who are also Christian. Okay? So and the pastor went on to say, well, I would take that part out. I think be good to others universally. And then, how long for the same teaching to appear again? That's a question I have for the churches. Today we saw these readings, right? In how long will this teaching come up again? That's just a curiosity to have, because I've been coming to the church for like a year now. And also something I'd love to do is, but that one's more private. So another note I have is, he said, going back to the old habits. Before you had Christ in your life, when you have the freedom you've obtained through life, then it'll destroy you again the way it did before. Now I'm asking you, is this true or false? Leave your answer in the comments. Again, the question: going back to your old habits when you have freedom gained from Christ, you'll destroy yourself again. Is this true or false? Leave your comment below. And what will destroy you again? This was interesting. So it says, and this is going from the reading, right? It says, when you follow the desires of your sinful nature, the results are very clear. sexual immorality, impurity, lustful pleasures, idolatry, sorcery, hostility, quarreling, jealousy, outbursts of anger, self-ambition, dissension, division, envy, drunkenness, wild parties. Now, am I the only one that thinks a wild party sounds pretty fun? And this is where I go into my takeaway. My perspective is this balance: is the sinful nature versus the godly divine nature. All the good things that the divine nature brings. For example, it says that the Holy Spirit produces this kind of fruit in our lives: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. He says there is no law against these things. What he's saying is these are good things. You follow these, you live this way, you're not going to have problems. But if you follow your sinful nature and you have sexual immorality, impurity, lustful pleasures, idolatry, sorcery, hostility, quarreling, jealousy, outbursts of anger, self-ambition, dissension, division, envy, drunkenness, wild parties, and other sins like these, then you will have trouble. And that's why you need the law of Moses. Today, the laws of the United States, there are 17,000 or 170,000 laws. And what Joe, the guy I met today, what he told me at the end, because I asked him, hey Joe, what does it mean here when it says, when you are directed by the Spirit, you are not under obligation to the law of Moses? So I went online, I looked up someone's opinion on a meaning of that phrase that came up, and there it said basically that when you follow the Spirit, you no longer do the things that get you into trouble that requires the law. And what Joe said afterwards when I asked him was, he said basically if people just follow these 10 commandments, we wouldn't need all the 17 or 170,000 laws that are in the United States. So let's see, some other notes I have here is change is good, but is it counterproductive? So it says, God gives us the power to change. How does that good change occur? So God gives us the power to change. So I experience this, right? I follow God. I do away with all the bad and sinful things, habits, and basically follow my sinful nature. That is my savage nature, right? And there is great satisfaction in it, I will tell you. And my question is, when one follows, as it happened to me, right, the good path, you spend some time doing things that are not good. Like what I would do is I didn't have so much free time, and I just spend my time playing Call of Duty or reading a book, but not really talking to many people, losing many friends, and learning so much that I separated myself too much from other people. When you know so much. So going back to the old things kind of slows things down, and is that not beneficial at the end of the day? If it gives a satisfaction in the short term, and then it slows things down so that you're not speeding up so much, is that good? The way I do, I balance. So I admit, I have a sinful nature, and I also have this experience following the law so truly, and I can vouch for both sides. If I had to choose in an instant, I'd go with the Holy Spirit, the Jesus, the Christian, Buddhist, Saint Germain way. But if I have the time and the free will to choose, then I may follow both a little bit to my heart's content and spirit's content. So another note I have here is, if time on earth is limited, shouldn't you also satisfy your sinful nature? So what it says here is, I'll read it. How differently we know him now. This means that everyone who belongs to Christ has become a new person. The old life is gone, a new life has begun. So a new life has begun. And I say, But if time on earth is limited, shouldn't that one life be maximized, be lived to the fullest? And what does it mean to live to the fullest? You know? And then finally it says, happy people produce happy thoughts. This was my thought. So after Joe approached me, I felt this happiness, and then that idea, that happiness turned into an image of Chinese food, that dish that I like to eat.